You've been taught to look outward for power, but Thoth taught that everything begins within. There is an old spell we've all been placed under, so gentle and ubiquitous we rarely see it. It whispers from billboards, flickers through screens, and lingers in the breathless pace of modern life. You are incomplete. You need something outside of you. You. More knowledge, more things, more approval to be whole. And yet, in the ancient temples of Chem, beneath the stars that still shimmer, unchanged, the scribes of Thoth etched another message into the living stone all is mind. The first Hermetic principle, the cornerstone, the reminder that everything reality, perception, matter, time is shaped not from the outside in, but from the inside out. The world is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Mind is the matrix of the manifest. To understand this is not merely to think it, but to feel it vibrate in your bones. Imagine your life as a great mirror. Every moment, every interaction, every struggle and triumph is a reflection of the inner landscape you have cultivated or neglected. This is not blame, it is liberation. For if the world reflects your mind, then you are never a victim of chance. You are the artist and the canvas, the dreamer and the dream. A thought seemingly so small is the seed of reality. You think I am unworthy, and the world complies. You think I am whole, and the world unfolds in resonance. The magician does not wait for evidence to believe they believe, and thereby create the evidence. The mind is not limited to the brain. It is the field. It is the pulse behind the veil of appearances. Science now nods to this with quantum murmurs. The observer collapses the wave, choosing reality in every moment of attention. Ancient mystics knew this long ago. What you observe becomes real, not just in space, but in you. So ask yourself gently, what have you been observing? What loops of thought have you unknowingly fed with your sacred awareness? What realities have you held in place by the gravity of belief? There is no shame here, only remembering. Like a child, waking from a dream, you begin to stretch into a greater awareness. You notice your thoughts not as truths, but as tools. You recognize the voice of fear not as your essence, but as an echo seeking healing. And in that recognition, the spell begins to lift. You are the mind behind the mirror. You are the center around which your world turns. To master the mind is to become the architect of your fate, no longer a tenant in a house built by others' opinions. Practice this not in some distant monastery, but in the morning stillness. When you rise, set an intention, not a to-do list, but a to-be list. Be present, be empowered, be curious. Observe your thoughts as clouds, not commands. When doubt arises, greet it like an old teacher. Ask, what are you trying to show me about how I see myself? In the silence between words, you will begin to feel the mind behind the mind, the deep stillness that underlies all motion. This is the sacred space of Thoth. It is not elsewhere. It is here now, waiting patiently behind every breath. When you understand that you are not your thoughts, but the thinker of them, you have taken the first step in Hermetic alchemy. You have touched the root from which all change becomes possible. All is mind, and the mind is yours to wield. In the dance of opposites, we often mistake the steps for struggle. But polarity is not punishment, it is poetry. This world, woven in light and shadow, sings in twos, up and down, hot and cold, joy and sorrow, birth and decay. The Hermetic principle of polarity tells us that all things are dual, and that duality is but variation on a single essence. What we call opposites are in truth two extremes of the same thing, vibrating at different frequencies. Hot and cold are not separate entities, but degrees of temperature. Light and dark are not enemies, but dancers trading places on the stage of time. Why then do we suffer so deeply in the face of contrast? Because we forget the dance. We forget that within every heartbreak lies the seed of greater love. Within every fear trembles an invitation to courage. We are taught to judge experiences as good or bad, right or wrong, and in doing so, we resist half of life's teachings. We cling to the light and curse the dark, not realizing they are the very same current flowing in different directions. To awaken is to remember this: you are not meant to eliminate polarity. You are meant to alchemize it. Like a skilled conductor who feels both the high notes and low notes without needing them to agree, the inner alchemist knows that mastery lies not in avoiding extremes, but in learning to move between them. To find the middle path, not by standing still, but by flowing with presence through each moment's truth. When you feel sadness, don't resist it. Study it. Touch its edge and ask, what love is hiding here? When you feel anger, pause. Not to suppress it, but to listen to what boundary within you is aching to be honored. This is not passive spirituality. It is fierce compassion. It is the art of conscious transmutation. Polarity becomes power when it is felt fully and held lightly. Consider the story of a woman who faced rejection after rejection while pursuing her dream as a writer. She nearly gave up. The darkness whispered, "You are not enough." But instead of silencing it, she turned toward it with curiosity. She wrote anyway, not to prove her worth, but to meet herself more deeply. Eventually, the same rejections that once crushed her became stepping stones refining her voice. Her pain did not vanish. It evolved. It became wisdom. This is the alchemy of polarity. You cannot choose what waves come, but you can choose how to surf them. You can learn to shift your inner temperature, to move from fear to trust, not in one great leap, but in tiny increments. One breath, one thought, one choice at a time. Here is a simple practice when faced with an emotion you typically label negative. Locate its polarity. Fear, its twin, is faith. Shame, its root, is the longing to be seen. Instead of trying to escape the emotion, trace it to its source. Ask, what is this really pointing me toward? Then breathe into that truth, even if it trembles. This is not bypassing, it is bridging. Bridging from unconscious reaction to conscious response, from being tossed by polarity to learning its language. And over time, you will feel a quiet shift, you will notice that your suffering becomes less about the emotion itself and more about your resistance to it. You will recognize the shadows as messengers. You will begin to say, even in moments of intensity, this too is part of the dance. In the Kabbalion, it is written, opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. The secret is not to flatten the world into sameness, but to embrace its gradients. To know that cold leads to warmth, that loss leads to presence, and that every pendulum swing carries the memory of the center. Dancing with duality is not about finding permanent peace. It's about finding inner presence in motion. And when you can stand at the center while the world moves around you, when you no longer fear the shadows, you become the still flame at the heart of change. The light is not in fighting the dark. The light is in learning to love through it. As above, so below. As within, so without. These are not just poetic incantations. They are coordinates for awakening. The third Hermetic principle. Correspondence whispers of a hidden symmetry that permeates all things. What seems separate is in truth reflecting itself through infinite scales. The stars spin in the heavens just as electrons spiral within the atom. The tides of the ocean mirror the rhythms of our breath. Your inner landscape, the thoughts you think, the emotions you allow, the beliefs you carry echoes outward into the theater of your life, scripting encounters and shaping reality. And yet, how often do we overlook this sacred mirroring? We look at the chaos in the world and feel powerless. We yearn for peace in our homes while warring within ourselves. We chase love in another's eyes, never pausing to see if we have offered it to our own soul. But the Hermetists knew the outer is the projection of the inner. Not in a blameful way, but in a mystical one. The world becomes your oracle when you learn to read its language. Every irritation, every joy, every repeated pattern is a glyph inscribed by your own consciousness. The universe is not random, it is responsive. When something triggers, you ask, what within me is asking to be healed? When beauty moves, you ask, what within me has awakened to be seen? These questions, gently held, turn life into a living scripture. It is like walking through a dream you didn't know you were dreaming. And as you become lucid, you realize you are not just a character, you are the dreamer too. The mystic and the physicist now meet on similar ground. Quantum theory shows that matter is not fixed, but probabilistic, a wave of possibilities until observed. The act of observation, intention, awareness collapses the wave. Likewise, your attention, your conscious witnessing anchors energy into form. So, what are you anchoring? Do you see conflict and grow bitter? Or do you see a call for wholeness? Do you witness rejection and become small? Or do you recognize a redirection toward deeper alignment? The lens you use does not just color the world, it helps construct it. In this way, the mundane becomes holy. Washing dishes becomes a ritual of gratitude. Traffic becomes a meditation on stillness amid movement. A tense conversation becomes a mirror reflecting your growth. When you stop resisting life, you begin responding to it with the curiosity of a lover. rather than the fear of a stranger. There's a story of an artist who couldn't sell her work. For years, she compared herself to others, believing she lacked talent. But one day, instead of looking outside, she turned inward. She began painting from her soul, not for approval, but for expression. She aligned with authenticity. And soon, opportunities began flowing, not because the world had changed, but because she had. The outer responded to the new inner signal. That is the law of correspondence at play. A simple practice at the end of each day: reflect gently. What did today mirror back to me? Not in judgment, but in wonder. What did my encounters teach me about my assumptions, my wounds, my dreams? What felt in harmony? What felt discordant? Trace the patterns, not as problems, but as poems written in the ink of awareness. Begin to live as though everything is speaking to you, because it is. The rustling leaves, the numbers on the clock, the smile of a stranger. They are all echoes, reverberations from a deeper order, a divine symmetry. When you realize this, you stop feeling alone. You stop waiting for the world to change before you feel peace. You begin to be the peace, and the world begins to reflect it back. This is not magic. It is participation. You are not here to observe life as a passive spectator. You are here to enter it. Shape it, be shaped by it. Like a wave sculpting the shore. As above, so below. As within, so without. Change the image in the mirror, not by pressing the glass, but by softening your gaze within. There is a silence more powerful than sound. Beneath the mind's noise, beneath the pulse of thought, there hums a frequency that is always present, always guiding the silent architect within. The Hermetic principle of vibration declares that nothing rests, everything moves. All matter, all thought, all energy is in a state of constant motion, oscillating at its own unique rate. From the atoms in your skin to the emotions in your chest, all is vibrating. All is alive with frequency. You are not a static being. You are a song in motion. And the most profound truth, you can change your tune. We tend to think of life in terms of fixed labels: success and failure, joy and grief, right and wrong. But vibration reveals a deeper truth. Everything is fluid. Everything can be tuned. Just as a radio receives different stations based on its frequency, your consciousness receives different experiences based on the inner note you hold. Not as punishment or reward, but as resonance. Think of it: when you are steeped in fear, the world appears threatening. When you rise into gratitude, the same world gleams with grace. The outer hasn't changed, your vibration has. This is not a metaphor. It is an energetic law. In a crowded cafe, one person sits wrapped in anxiety, hearing only the clatter and chaos. Another seated just beside drinks their tea with calm presence, attuned to the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of laughter nearby. The difference is not the environment. It is the frequency they carry. One is tuned to static, the other to signal. So the question becomes, what are you tuned to? Most people live reactively, shifting with whatever frequency the world throws at them. But the alchemist learns to choose their station. to lift their vibration consciously, not by force, but by returning to the truth of who they are beneath the static. This is the silent work, the gentle attunement. Begin each day not by reaching for your phone, but by tuning in. Close your eyes, feel your body, breathe into your belly, and ask, what vibration do I choose today? Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's forgiveness. Whatever it is, feel it, like a tone resonating through your being. Let it shape your posture, your pace, your presence. And when you forget, and you will return again. This is not about perfection. It is about practice. The vibrational field of your life is a garden that responds to your tending. Even one breath of conscious intention can shift your entire field. A story echoes here. A man struggling with despair came to a wise woman and said, "I cannot rise. The weight is too heavy." She listened, then said only, "Stop trying to rise. Instead, lower yourself into the deepest place in your heart. Sit there, listen, and when you're ready, hum the note you find." He did, and over time, that note became his medicine. Not an escape from the pain, but a vibration woven through it. His frequency changed, and so did his world. Your vibration is not just a mood, it is a message. It signals the universe what you are available for, what you are willing to receive, what you are here to embody. This is not about pretending to be happy when you are not. It is about being honest enough to feel where you are and loving enough to choose alignment anyway. When the storm comes, you do not curse the wind. You center yourself. You become the eye, the stillness within the motion. And that stillness becomes your power. The Kabbalion teaches, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. When you truly feel this, you are no longer trapped by states of mind. You become a tuner, a weaver, a vibrational artist. You realize that your being is a living instrument, and life plays differently depending on how you're strung. Here is a practice when anxiety rises. Pause and hum, literally. Feel the sound in your chest. Let it reverberate. This is not childish. It is ancient. Vibration heals. Sound realigns. Even a soft hum can draw you back to center. You are not the chaos. You are the tuning fork. You are not lost in the noise. You are the architect of your resonance. The silent architect within and is always designing, always humming your frequency into form. Choose your note and let the universe sing it back. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when light alone is no longer enough. When the radiance we've chased begins to feel hollow, unless we also turn and face what hides in shadow. This is the moment the true alchemist is born. The final Hermetic truth is not found in transcendence, but in integration. The sacred fusion of all opposites, all frequencies, all forms. This is the philosopher's stone, the light that can only be birthed through our willingness to meet the dark. And yet we have been taught to flee it. The shadow has been painted as evil, wrong, shameful. We cast it out, suppress it, ignore it. But it does not disappear. It waits not to destroy us, but to complete us. What we repress becomes fate. What we meet with love becomes power. The principle of gender speaks here, though it has been misunderstood. Not man and woman as binaries, but masculine and feminine as energies, the active and the receptive. The light and the hidden, the known and the mystery. These are not forces to conquer one another. They are to be balanced within. Your divine masculine drives intention, action, clarity. Your divine feminine holds intuition, stillness, embodiment. The true alchemist does not exalt one over the other, but allows them to dance to merge, to give birth to creation itself. The sun and the moon are not rivals. They are reflections of the one. So too, with your shadow. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. Imagine the dark parts of yourself, the envy, the fear, the rage, not as enemies, but as children who have waited in silence for your love. They do not need to be punished. They need to be heard, held, rewritten into light. One woman I knew struggled deeply with self-sabotage. Every time she moved toward joy, a part of her would pull away. Instead of condemning that part, she turned toward it with curiosity. In meditation, she met it as a young version of herself terrified to succeed because success once meant abandonment. By witnessing her shadow without judgment, she rewrote its story. That part of her became an ally, not a saboteur. This is inner alchemy, not rejection, but reconciliation. It's no accident that ancient alchemists worked with lead to create gold. Lead was dense, heavy, seemingly base, but hidden within was the potential for radiance. So it is with our pain. The moments we regret, the wounds we hide, are not dead weight. They are compressed energy, waiting to be released through presence. Transmutation is not a mystical fantasy. It is an everyday miracle. You practice it each time you meet a trigger with breath instead of blame. Each time you turn toward discomfort instead of away. Each time you say, "Even this belongs." Because here is the deepest truth: you are not the light alone. You are the crucible that can hold both. To alchemize polarity is not to eliminate contrast. It is to become the vessel in which all polarities are allowed to merge into unity. You become the grail, the holy container, the place where heaven and earth touch. This is what Thoth whispered in the temples, in dreams, in ink and starlight. The all is in all. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is separate. Even your darkest hour contains a sliver of the divine. And when you learn to see this not just as philosophy, but as embodied truth, you are no longer afraid of what life brings. You are no longer fragmented. You are sovereign. You become the medicine you once sought. Here is your invitation. The next time you feel heavy, do not run. Sit. Place a hand over your heart. Breathe. Ask the feeling what it needs not to leave, but to be loved. You may hear nothing at first, but your willingness to ask begins the alchemy. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. Light without shadow is blindness, but light that includes shadow, that is vision, that is gold. You are the alchemist. You always have been. And now, beloved traveler, you stand at the threshold, not of escape, but of return. Return to the ancient knowing that pulses in your marrow. Return to the sacred truth. You are not here to be saved. You are here to remember. Remember that your mind is the origin of creation, that every polarity is a hidden unity, that the universe mirrors your inner song. that your frequency is not fate, but choice, and that even your shadows hold the sacred whisper of becoming. This is the alchemy of Thoth, not a doctrine, but a path, not a ladder to ascend, but a spiral to embody, a return to your infinite center, where opposites kiss and miracles are mundane. So take this knowing with you into your breath, your gaze, your morning coffee, your deepest ache. Let it soften how you see, how you speak, how you shape the world with your being. Let it awaken the alchemist within. You are the fire and the forge, the question and the key. And now I ask only this: will you live as if it were true,